Malik Johnson woke before sunrise, the way he did whenever something important waited on the other side of morning. The small alarm clock on his nightstand glowed blue in the quiet. He sat up and smiled. Today he would walk into a company lobby, shake hands, and try to show people who he was and what he could do. He wanted to make a good first impression. Nothing more, nothing less. His apartment sat above a corner store. The floorboards creaked as he crossed to the kitchen. He boiled water for tea and made a simple bowl of oatmeal. On the wall hung a framed photo of his grandfather in a flat cap, laughing at something just out of the frame. Beneath it sat a worn metal toolbox, the one thing Malik would never sell. As a child, he had spent long afternoons handing tools to his grandfather, learning the calm rhythm of fixing things. He learned names like socket and breaker bar. He learned to be careful, to double-check, and to leave people safer than before. Now he was an auto tech trainee between jobs. The last shop had closed when the owner retired, and since then he had done odd jobs. Brake pads here, a leaky tap, there. He earned enough for rent, helped his mother with her medicine, and sometimes sent a little to his sister for his nephew's school supplies. But the money came and went. He wanted something steady, a place to grow and finish his certifications. A week earlier, he had seen a posting for a front desk service role at a major company's mobility division. The description sounded like him. Greet customers, listen carefully, explain simple fixes in plain words, pass complex problems to the mechanics. It needed both sides of him, the part that loved people and the part that loved machines. He sent his resume and soon received an interview email. It was polite but firm. Please arrive on time. Late arrivals cannot be accommodated. He repeated that line to himself as he ironed his shirt. He chose a sky blue shirt and a simple gray tie. In the mirror, he tried a small smile that felt honest. He practiced short answers. Tell us about yourself. Why this role? How do you handle a worried customer near closing time? He kept his answers plain. Listen first. Stay calm. Explain steps. Take responsibility. The night before, he had gone to the library to print extra copies of his resume. He slipped them into a clean folder with a list of references and a letter from the community center where he taught basic car safety on weekends. The letter called him patient and reliable. He liked that word, reliable. It was how he wanted people to feel around him, safe, heard, and respected. He checked the route on his phone. Without traffic, the office was 35 minutes away. He built in extra time and planned to leave an hour and a half early. If anything happened, road work, a long red light, he would still arrive early and sit in the lobby to breathe. He tucked a phone charger, a bottle of water, and his small tire gauge into his bag, more from habit than plan. Before leaving, he called his mother. She answered on the second ring, her voice warm with morning. She asked if he had eaten. He said, yes. She told him she was proud of him. He promised to call after the interview. When they hung up, he felt steady. He slid the folder into his backpack, took one last look around, and headed for the door. The stairwell smelled faintly of coffee from the store below. Outside, the sky was pale and cool. Mr. Park, the shop owner, waved from behind a stack of boxes. Big day? He asked with a grin. Malik nodded and laughed. Small kindnesses like that stayed with him. He unlocked his used sedan, a car he cared for like family. Out of habit, he checked the tires and used the tire gauge to confirm the pressure. Little checks gave him peace. He started the engine, turned, the radio off, and let the quiet help him rehearse. Traffic moved easily at first. He passed a school zone, slowed, and watched a crossing guard raise a hand in thanks. He lifted his hand in return and remembered how his grandfather always slowed, more than the signs asked. People matter more than time, his grandfather would say. The words felt close this morning. Back on the road, he reviewed the job posting in his mind. The role wanted patience and clear communication. He thought about a woman who had once come to the shop worried about a sharp rattle. He had listened, taken a slow drive with her around the block, and found the sound, a loose seatbelt buckle tapping the door. He had explained it kindly. She had left smiling. That was the person he would bring into the interview. The person who listened, found the real problem, and treated people with respect. Up ahead, an orange detour sign appeared. Roadwork on the main route. His map app suggested a turn along the river. He checked the time. He still had plenty of minutes, but his cushion shrank a little. He took the turn and drove past an early market where people set up tents. He breathed, slow. This was why he left early. The sun climbed and the city opened, brick buildings glowing, windows bright. A reminder he had written the night before lit his phone. Interview day. Be early. Be yourself. He kept his eyes on the road. The quiet steadied him. He thought about what the job could mean. A steady paycheck. Health benefits for his mother. Money for the certification exams he still wanted. Maybe even a small cushion so a broken heater or a dental bill would not cause worry. He did not dream of luxury. He dreamed of enough. The river road curved back toward the main highway. Cars merged. A delivery truck shifted lanes, traffic thickened, and then loosened again. He kept a safe distance and a steady speed. He checked the time and told himself he would still make it. Keep breathing. Keep moving. He was close now. He slowed for a yellow light, stopped, and used the pause to look at his reflection in the rearview mirror. He looked calm. The light turned green. He joined a short stretch of highway that led to the company's exit, checked his blind spot, signaled, and changed lanes. That was when a flicker on the shoulder drew his eye. Hazard lights blinking. A dark sedan sat at a slight angle near the guardrail. Beside it stood a woman holding her phone, looking up the road with a worried face. The morning kept moving, but on the side of the highway, a small problem waited. Malik's hands stayed steady on the wheel. His eyes dropped for a breath to the time on the dashboard. He had left early for a reason. He looked back at the shoulder, the blinking lights, the open trunk, the woman taking a step and then stepping back. A memory rose, gentle and clear. His grandfather on a late afternoon long ago, pulling over to help a stranger with a flat and saying, "If you can help, you should help." He drew a slow breath. He had not reached the company yet. The interview, email about punctuality lived in his thoughts. The city moved around him, clocks kept time, and traffic hummed forward. Malik eased off the gas and watched the hazard lights flash, steady as a heartbeat on the edge of the morning. In that long second, his day held two paths. He had not chosen yet. He kept his hands light on the wheel, breathed once more, and looked ahead. Malik eased his foot off the gas and flipped on his turn signal. He checked his mirrors, made sure the lane was clear, and guided his car to the shoulder a safe distance behind the stranded vehicle. He put his own hazard lights on, set the parking, brake, and took a breath. The morning traffic hummed by in steady lines. He reached into the back seat for the small reflective vest he kept from his community center classes and slipped it over his shirt. It looked a little funny with his tie, but safety came first. He stepped out and walked toward the other car, keeping to the inside of the shoulder. "Are you okay?" he called in a calm voice. The woman turned. She looked to be in her 30s, neat and composed even with worry in her eyes. Her hair was tied back. She wore a simple navy sweater and dark pants, the kind of outfit that could fit many roles. She held her phone like it might solve the problem if she looked hard enough at it. "I think the front tire is flat," she said, pointing to the front right. "I was calling for help, but the wait time is long. I have a meeting soon." "Let's take a look," Malik said. He crouched by the tire. It was definitely flat and not from a slow leak. The sidewall showed a thin, sharp cut. It must have... been a small piece of metal or a rough edge on the road. This tire would not roll again today. "Do you have a spare?" he asked, standing. "I think so," she said, opening the trunk. Inside sat a compact spare, a small jack, and a thin tire wrench. "I've never used these." "That's okay," Malik said gently. "We'll do it step by step. I'm Malik." "Ava," she said, offering a quick, grateful smile. "Thank you." "First, we'll make sure the car won't move," Malik said. He walked to the driver's door. "Could you put the car in park, set the parking brake, and turn your wheels away?" "From the road?" Ava followed his directions. The turned wheel would help keep the car from rolling. He checked the tiny wrench in the trunk. It would work, but the lug nuts on many cars were tightened by machines and could be stubborn. "I have a larger wrench in my car," he said. "It will make this easier." "Okay," Ava said, stepping back as he jogged to his trunk and lifted the lid. Inside, his grandfather's metal toolbox waited like an old friend. He took out a breaker bar and the correct socket, plus a pair of work gloves. He also grabbed a small rubber wheel chock he kept for moments like this and placed it behind the back tire on the same side as the flat. He knelt again by the front wheel. "I'm going to loosen the lug nuts a little before we lift the car. It's easier and safer that way," he explained. He pressed the socket onto the first nut and drew a slow breath. With a steady, even pull on the breaker bar, the nut gave with a soft, stubborn crack. He did the same with the second, third, fourth, and fifth. He loosened each one just a half turn so the wheel would still hold firm while the car sat on the ground. A delivery truck whooshed past, wind tugging at his vest. Malik kept his movements calm and unhurried, even though he knew time was moving. He glanced at the dashboard clock through his windshield. The minutes were not his friend. He pushed the thought away and focused on the next safe step. "Now we lift," he said. He showed Ava the small notch under the car where the jack should go. "This is the jack point. It's strong enough for the lift." He slid the jack into place and cranked the handle. The front corner of the car rose, slow and smooth. When the tire hung just off the ground, he stopped. "Ready to take the wheel off," he said. With his gloved hands, he turned each lug nut, the rest of the way, setting them neatly in a small plastic tray so none would roll away. He pulled the flat tire off and rolled it to the trunk. "We'll put the spare on now. This one is only for short distances at a lower speed, just to get you to a tire shop." Ava nodded. "Thank you for explaining. I didn't know any of this." He lined up the holes of the compact spare with the studs and slid it on. "It helps to lift a little and wiggle it onto the studs," he said, showing the small movement. The wheels settled in place. He spun the lug nuts on by hand first so the threads would catch straight, then tightened each one gently in a star pattern: top, bottom left, bottom right, top left, top right. "The star pattern keeps the wheel even," he said. He lowered the car slowly until the tire touched the ground and the jack could be removed. Then he tightened each lug nut again, firmly this time, still in a star pattern, using the longer breaker bar to get them snug but not harsh. "These are good," he said, giving the bar one last steady push. He tapped the breaker bar lightly and listened. He could hear his grandfather's voice reminding him not to rush the last checks. "Do you have a tire pressure sticker inside? Your driver's door?" he asked. "I want to check what the spare should have." Ava opened the door. The sticker showed the normal tire pressure, but the spare often had a different number printed on the spare itself. Malik crouched and looked at the small print on the spare's sidewall. "Max 60 psi, he read softly. "Let me just check." He pulled a small tire gauge from his pocket and pressed it to the valve. The reading was 48 psi. Many spares slowly lost pressure over time. He returned to his trunk and took out a compact air pump that plugged into the car's power outlet. It was not fast, but it worked well. He connected it, set the target, and turned it on. The pump hummed as it pushed air into the spare. He watched the small digital screen climb, 51, 54, 57. Almost there, he said, both to Ava and to himself. He looked at the time again. The minutes kept ticking, but he did not let his face show worry. The pump beeped and stopped at 60. He disconnected it and replaced the valve cap. He stood and gave the wheel a small, firm shake to make sure it seated well. Everything felt right. He gathered the jack, the thin wrench, and the small tray with the lug nuts he had removed, though now they were back on the spare. He placed the flat tire inside the trunk and tucked the jack back into its slot. Ava watched with an expression that mixed relief and surprise. "You are very calm," she said. "Thank you for that." "Calm makes things safer," he said with a small smile. "Drive gently on this spare. Keep your speed down. Go to a tire shop soon to replace the damaged tire. The spare is like a helper, not a full teammate." He realized he had used a funny word and laughed a little. "Sorry. I teach a small class on weekends. I say things in simple ways there." "Simple is perfect," she said. "I have to say, I was worried I would be here for an hour. You made it seem easy." "It's easy when you do it step by step," he said. "Do you have a roadside triangle or flares? If not, consider keeping one in the trunk. And maybe gloves. They save your hands." "I will," she said. "Please, let me pay you for your time." She reached into her bag. Malik shook his head and took a small step back. "It's okay. I'm on my way to something important, too. I stopped because you needed help. That's all." "At least let me buy you coffee," she said, still hopeful. He thought about the clock again. He could not spare another minute. "Thank you," he said kindly, "but I need to get moving." "What can I do then?" she asked, and her voice carried a sincere wish to give something back. "If you pass it on someday, that's more than enough," he said. "Help someone else on a tough morning." Ava's eyes softened. "I will, truly. What's your name again?" "Malik," he said. "I'm Ava," she replied. "Thank you, Malik. You just saved my morning." He nodded. "Drive safely, Ava. Keep your hazard lights on until you're fully back in the lane. Signal early, take your time merging, and once you're moving, turn them off." A tow truck slowed as it went by, the driver giving them both a quick thumbs up before rolling on. Malik smiled, lifted a hand in return, then jogged back to his car. He took off the reflective vest, folded it neatly, and put it on the passenger seat. He wiped his hands with a clean rag and checked the mirror. A small smudge of road dust ran along his knuckle. He rubbed it away. He started the engine and glanced at the clock again. His cushion was gone. The time showed he would be close even with good traffic. He felt a small tightness in his chest, not fear exactly, but a reminder that choices have a cost. He thought of the email that said late arrivals could not be seen. He also thought of his grandfather's quiet rule. People matter more than time. He sat with both truths for one clear beat. He signaled, checked his mirrors again, waited for a safe gap, and merged into the slow lane. He kept his speed reasonable. He could move with purpose without ignoring safety. As he gathered speed, he watched in the side mirror as Ava's car pulled out behind him, her signal blinking, her spare tire rolling smoothly. She merged a few cars back, then took the next exit. He felt a simple, clean relief that she was on her way. The road stretched ahead. Buildings grew taller. Signs for the business district appeared. He took a breath and sat up straighter. He spoke quietly, as if reminding himself what mattered. "Do the next right thing, then the next," he said. He would arrive as soon as he could. He would be honest about why he was late if anyone asked. He would not make excuses. He would accept whatever came. Traffic slowed near a ramp. He used the pause to check his folder on the seat. Resume copies, references, the letter from the community center. Everything was in place. He thought about the story he was bringing into that lobby. It was a simple story. A person saw a need and helped. It was not more complicated than that. He took the exit for the company campus. Glass. Buildings rose behind clean landscaping. He followed the signs to visitor parking, found a spot, and Malik stepped into the bright lobby and walked to the front desk with a calm face and steady hands. The receptionist looked up with a friendly smile that softened when she checked the clock on her screen. Her name tag said Nina. She greeted him and asked for his name and interview time. Malik gave both and passed over his ID, still breathing evenly. He knew the time was not on his side. Nina typed, then paused. "I'm so sorry, Malik," she said in a warm, careful tone. "It looks like your panel has moved on to the next candidate. They keep a tight schedule on group interview days." She waited, ready for frustration. She did not see any on his face. "I understand," he said simply. "Thank you for checking." He did not rush to explain. He let the truth rest for a second. Then he added, "On the way here, I stopped to help a driver with a flat tire. It took longer than I expected. I accept the result." Nina nodded, and the kindness in her eyes deepened. "I'm sorry this happened," she said. "Would you like me to note your arrival and that you checked in?" "Yes, please," he said. "And if there's a way to share a short note with the recruiter, I would be grateful. If not, I can send an email." "I'll put a note," she said, typing quickly. "You can also email recruiting. The address is on your confirmation message." She looked up. "Your calm is impressive." "Thank you," he said. "I try to be the same person when things go my way and when they do not." He stepped aside so the next visitor could check in and sat on a bench along the wall. The lobby was quiet with soft chairs and a wide window that showed the campus lawn and a fountain. He took out his phone and opened the interview email. He tapped reply and began to write in plain, honest words. "Good morning," he typed. "This is Malik Johnson. I had a 9 a.m. interview today and arrived late. On my drive, I stopped to help a driver with a flat tire on the shoulder. It took longer than expected, and I missed my slot. I accept responsibility for the result. I understand if the panel cannot see me today or at all. Thank you for the opportunity and for considering my application. I remain very interested in the service role. If there is any way to reschedule, I would be grateful, but I respect your policy either way. Sincerely, Malik." He reread it to make sure it said what he meant. He did not add extra lines to make himself look better. He did not tell a long story. He kept it simple. He pressed send and felt a small lift inside, the feeling that comes when your words match your values. A man in a blue blazer sat down a few seats away and checked a map on his phone, then glanced at the directory on the wall confused. He looked at Malik. "Do you know where the B building conference rooms are?" he asked. Malik smiled and pointed to the sign by the elevators. "Take the elevator to the second floor, follow the green line on the floor, and look for B210 to B230. The arrows on the wall are small, but they're there." He had noticed them when he walked in. The man thanked him and hurried on. Malik stood, walked back to Nina, and said thank you again for her help. Then he stepped outside to the courtyard, where the air smelled like cut grass and water. He sat on a low wall near the fountain and let his shoulders rest. He pulled out his phone and called his mother. She answered quickly. "How did it go?" she asked gently. "I was late," he said in a steady voice. "I stopped to help someone with a tire on the highway. The panel moved on. I sent a note to the recruiter. I'm okay." There was a small pause, and then she said, "You did a good thing. I'm proud of your choice. Life will bring another door." "Thank you," he said, and the words put a warm anchor in his chest. "I'll bring lunch on my way home." He ended the call and looked at the campus. People walked past with badges and coffee cups. A small group laughed softly as they crossed the lawn. He liked the feeling of the place, the order, the light, the simple plan of a work day. He had wanted to be part of that rhythm. He still did. Inside, in a glass-walled conference room on the 4th floor, a leadership briefing had begun. At the head of the table sat Ava, the same woman from the roadside. Here she wore a badge and a light jacket. She was composed but carried a small, private joy that her morning had been saved by a stranger's hands. She had made it to her early site visit because the spare was on and rolling. She had texted her assistant to let the morning meetings proceed as planned. The VP of People began with a quick update: open roles, hiring timelines, and today's group interviews. We have a front desk service panel in the mobility division this morning, he said. There was one late arrival who checked in after his time. He sent a note. I bring it up because punctuality is part of our values talk. Ava's eyes moved from her notebook to the VP. What's the candidate's name? She asked. He looked at his tablet. Malik Johnson. He wrote a clear email. He said he stopped to help a driver with a flat tire on the shoulder. He accepted responsibility for missing his slot. He asked for consideration but said he understood if we could not reschedule. Ava sat a little straighter, her memory clicking into place like a wheel onto studs. She thought of the calm voice on the shoulder. She thought of the way he explained each step and checked the spare's air. She thought of how he declined payment and asked her to pass the kindness on. She kept her face even but felt something bright move through her. May I see his email? She asked. The VP slid the tablet across the table. Ava read the message. The words were simple and honest. They matched the person she had met on the road. She looked up. Has the panel seen his resume? She asked. Not yet, the VP said. He arrived after his slot. The panel is on a tight schedule. We typically do not reschedule on group days. He paused. But we can make exceptions with good cause. Ava considered this with care. She had been in many rooms where the rules were there to create fairness and order. Those rooms worked best when people also used judgment. Please pull his resume now, she said. Let's look. The HR partner tapped her laptop keys and brought the resume onto the room's screen. Lines of text appeared. Auto tech trainee, community center class on car safety, volunteer work at weekend clinics where basic checks were done for seniors' cars. References from a retired shop owner and a community director who called him patient and reliable. He looks like what the role needs, the HR partner said. He can speak to customers and he knows enough about basics to explain things clearly. Ava nodded. She could almost hear him again saying, calm makes things safer. She thought about company values, the ones she said out loud at town halls. Serve people, do the right thing, use good judgment. The words had to mean something on quiet days, too. I met him this morning, she said plainly. The room stilled. He is the person who stopped on the shoulder to help me. He did not know who I was. He did not ask for anything. He worked safely and explained what he was doing. He was gentle about the time and never tried to hurry the steps. She looked around the table, not to impress anyone, but to bring complete information to the decision. He believes that people matter more than time. I think we should see him. The VP of People nodded slowly. Understood. We can reach out and offer a new time. The panel could add a slot at the end of the day or tomorrow morning. The division lead may also want to join for the last 5 minutes. Please do that, Ava said. And one more thing. Let's review our guidance. If a candidate is late because they stopped to help in a situation that involves safety, like medical help, a roadside issue, or something similar, and we can verify facts, we should allow a one-time reschedule at the panel's discretion. We talk about values a lot. Let's live them. I'll make a draft update, the HR partner said, typing. The meeting moved on to other topics, but the room felt lighter. It is not every day that a small roadside act walks into a values slide and turns it into action. Sometimes rules protect fairness. Sometimes judgment protects fairness, too. Downstairs, Nina saw Malik stand and thank her again before he walked to the door. She felt a tug of hope for him. She had seen many faces in that lobby. The ones that stayed with her were the calm ones. The ones that treated her with the same respect she gave them even when things went sideways. Malik stepped outside and crossed the lot to his car. He sat in the driver's seat and rested his hands on the wheel for a moment. The morning had turned in a way he could not have predicted, but he did not carry regret. He took a sip of water, started the engine, and drove toward the exit. On the way out, he pulled into a small public park to reply to a text from his sister about his nephew's school project. He sent a note with ideas and promised to look for a used book on simple machines. As he typed, he saw a teenager by a bike rack, quietly struggling with a chain that had slipped off. The boy looked around, unsure. Malik parked, walked over, and asked if he could help. The boy nodded with relief. Malik showed him how to loosen the tension a little, lift the chain onto the smallest gear, and roll the pedal to pull it back into place. He used a napkin from his glove box so the boy's hands stayed mostly clean. "Keep the chain a bit oiled," he said. "It helps it glide." The boy said thank you 3 times and rode off with a wave. Malik smiled. Small moments like that gave his day shape even when other parts did not. He returned to his car and checked his phone one last time before pulling out. A new email notification lit the screen. The subject line read, "Interview reschedule, Mobility Division." He blinked, surprised, and opened it. The message was brief and kind. Malik woke before his alarm. The room was gray and quiet, and for a short moment he lay still and let the new day settle on him like a soft blanket. He felt clear. Today he had another chance, and he wanted to meet it with the same calm he had, carried on the roadside. He got up, made tea, and ironed a fresh white shirt. He chose a navy tie this time and polished his shoes with a small cloth until the leather showed a gentle shine. He packed his folder with extra copies of his resume, the letter from the community center, and a small spiral notebook where he kept short checklists. He checked the route again. He added more time than yesterday. He added time for a slow elevator, a long walk from the far end of the visitor lot, and even time for a simple breath before he checked in. He put a banana and a bottle of water in his bag. He also placed the reflective vest back in the trunk out of habit, though he hoped he would not need it. Before he left, he called his mother. She answered with that warm tone that always made him feel steady. "Be yourself," she said. "That is more than enough." He thanked her and promised to call after. The drive felt different today. He took the long way by choice, passing the river and the early market again. The tents were up now, bright like little flags. He reached the campus 40 minutes early and parked in a spot under a tree. He turned off the engine and sat for a minute, letting his breath slow so his mind could be quiet. Then he stepped out, locked the car, and walked toward the glass doors with an easy pace. Inside, the same lobby greeted him with light and soft chairs. Nina, the receptionist, looked up and smiled like she had been hoping to see him. "Good morning, Malik," she said, remembering his name. "You're early." That was the plan, he said with a small smile of his own. She printed a visitor badge and handed it to him. "Your panel is set for 9:30 in B214, she said. "Elevators, 2nd floor, follow the green line. You can have a seat for a bit if you like." "Thank you for your help yesterday," he said. She waved the thanks away kindly. "You carried yourself well. I hope today goes your way." He sat for a few minutes and wrote a simple note to himself in his small spiral. "Listen first. Answer with care. Be plain. Ask if unclear." He put the notebook away, stood and took the elevator up. On the 2nd floor, the green line guided him through a quiet corridor. People passed with badges and soft voices. The air held the light smell of coffee. He found B214 and waited on a bench outside with his hands resting on his folder. A small sign on the wall showed the panelists' names. He read them and practiced saying each name in his mind so he would not stumble. At exactly 9:30, the door opened and a woman with kind eyes stepped out. "Malik Johnson?" she asked. "Yes," he said, rising. "I'm Rena," she said. "I lead the service desk team here. Thanks for being early. Please come in." She wore a simple blazer and moved with an organized calm that he liked right away. Inside, 4 people sat around a U-shaped table. Rena took a seat at the center. To her left sat Dev, a service operations lead with a notebook open and a pen. Ready. To her right sat Lila, an HR partner with a laptop. On the far side sat Marco, a senior technician in a company polo. The room was bright and tidy, with a whiteboard and a small tray of water bottles. Malik placed his folder on the table edge and sat when asked, hands relaxed. "Thank you for coming back," Rena began. "We appreciate the way you handled yesterday. Today we'll have a mix of questions and a short role play. The goal is simple. We want to see how you think and how you care for people." "That makes sense," Malik said. Lila smiled and clicked a key. "Let's start with you," she said. "Tell us about yourself in your own words." "I'm Malik," he said. "I trained in basic auto service at a community program and worked at a small shop until it closed. I like helping people feel safe on the road. I teach a weekend class on simple car safety at the community center, how to read tire pressure, why to check the oil level, and how to use a spare. I try to explain things in plain words because plain words help people make good choices." Dev leaned in. "Thank you," he said. "Here's a scenario. A customer arrives at 5:55 p.m., 5 minutes before closing. They sound worried because their car makes a tapping noise. The techs are almost done for the day. What do you do and say?" "I greet them first," Malik said. "I make eye contact and show that I'm listening. I say, 'You're in the right place. Tell me what you're hearing and when it happens. Only when you turn or also on a straight road.' I write a short note with their words. I check if a quick, safe look is possible, like a loose seatbelt buckle tapping the door or a small stone stuck in the tire tread. If it's something simple, I show them and fix it if it's safe at the desk. If it needs a bay, I explain our time and the next steps. I do not rush the techs, because rushed work is not safe. I offer the first morning slot, explain how to drive gently if it is safe to drive, and I thank them for coming in." Rena nodded. "And if the customer is upset about the time?" "I stay calm," Malik said. "I do not mirror the upset. I repeat the key facts in a gentle tone. I understand. This is stressful. I want to help. Here is what we can safely do now, and here is the soonest full check." People here care when you say it plainly and mean it. Marco, the technician, gave a small smile. "Good," he said. "Second scenario. A customer asks you a technical question you do not know and the techs are in the middle of a job. How do you handle it?" I say, "That's a good question. I want to give you an accurate answer. Let me check with the technician or our service guide and get right back to you." I write the question down so I don't miss the details. I respect the tech's time and the customer's time. If I cannot answer right away, I give a clear time when I will follow up. Lila looked up from her laptop. "You wrote a thoughtful note yesterday. Thank you for that. We do want to ask, in that situation, would you make the same choice again?" "Yes," Malik said, without hurry. "I stopped on the shoulder because someone needed help and it was safe to do so. I know time matters. I also know people matter more than time. If the same situation came up again, I would help. Then I would do everything I could to fix the schedule on my end, like I tried to do today by being early." There was a quiet beat. Malik let the moment be quiet. He did not try to fill it with more words. Rena tapped her pen lightly. "Thank you," she said. "Let's do the short role play. I'll be a customer picking up my car. The estimate changed because the tech found an extra worn belt. You will explain the change, the reason, and the options, they began. Rena played the customer with a clear, practical voice. Malik stood behind the little guest chair to mirror a front desk counter. He held a blank sheet like an invoice. "Ms. Lee," he said in a warm, respectful tone, "we finished the main service you approved. While inspecting the belts, our technician found an extra belt with wear that could lead to a problem soon. We can replace it today for this added cost or schedule it next week. I want you to have all the facts so you can decide." "Why didn't you see it earlier?" Rena asked in character, a little concerned. "We checked the parts in order," Malik said. "The second belt sits behind the first and is not visible until the front one is off. We did not want to add work without your agreement. Here are the photos the tech took so you can see the wear." He set the paper like a photo on the table, pointing gently. "If you choose to wait, you can drive for a short time, but I recommend a quick follow-up. If you choose to do it now, we will finish today. I'll support whatever you decide." Rena's eyes flicked to Marco. The senior tech gave a small nod. The explanation was clean. Rena returned to herself and smiled. "Thank you," she said. That was clear and respectful. Dev asked about scheduling tools, about how Malik would handle 3 phone lines ringing at once, and about how he stays organized. Malik answered with simple methods: short notes, the habit of repeating back details to confirm, and the practice of setting a small timer for promised callbacks so nothing slips. They talked about weekend classes. Malik explained how he broke a lesson into 3 parts: what it is, why it matters, how to do it safely. "I learned that people relax when they understand the why," he said. As they neared the end, the door opened softly. A woman stepped in with a light step and a calm presence. It was Ava. Today she wore a professional jacket and a badge. She greeted the panel quietly and then looked at Malik with a warm, steady smile that told him she was both grateful and composed. "Malik," she said, "thank you for coming in again." She took a seat near the end of the table. "I'm Ava from the leadership team." He nodded and said, "Good morning." She glanced at Rena. "May I ask one question?" Rena nodded. Ava turned, back to Malik. "Yesterday on the roadside, you walked me through every step. You never rushed. You never made the problem small. You just made it clear. If we hired you, and one of our customers arrived feeling as lost as I felt on that shoulder, what would you hope they remember after talking with you?" Malik thought, for a brief moment, then answered in plain words. "I would hope they remember that someone saw them, listened, and made the path simple. Maybe they would not remember the names of parts, but they would remember that their safety mattered, and that we cared." A soft quiet came over the room. It was the kind of quiet that follows a true thing. Ava held his eyes for a second and then said, still in that gentle voice, "For the panel's awareness, I was the driver Malik helped yesterday. Malik drove home without checking his phone for messages because he wanted to let the morning breathe. He stopped at a small grocery store to buy lentils and fresh bread for his mother. The shop owner, Mr. Park, waved from behind the counter and asked how it went. Malik smiled and said, "I think it went well." He did not add more. He felt that quiet, steady peace that comes when you have done your best and left the rest in good hands. At home, he cooked a simple lunch for his mother, lentil soup with a squeeze of lemon, warm bread, and tea. He told her about the panel, the role play, and the questions. He described the moment when a woman from the leadership team stepped in and asked him what he hoped customers would remember. He did not say who she was. He only said she was calm and kind, and that she had been there on the roadside. His mother listened with bright eyes and nodded slowly. "You answered with your heart," she said. "People feel that." After lunch, Malik washed the dishes and wiped the counter. He checked his phone finally, and there it was, a new email from HR. He opened it and read it twice to make sure he understood every word. The message thanked him for coming back, praised his calm and care, and made a formal offer, an entry-level, service desk role with a mentorship path, training credits toward his certifications, and full benefits. The email invited him to start in 2 weeks. It felt like the room grew lighter by one shade. He read the details out loud to his mother, who put a hand on her heart and smiled. "Accept," she said softly, as if it were the simplest sentence in the world. Malik wrote back a thankful acceptance. Then he sent 3 short messages. One to the community center director, telling her the good news and promising to keep teaching on weekends. One to the retired shop owner who had written a reference, thanking him for believing in him. And one to his sister, saying he could help with his nephew's school books next month. Each reply that came back carried warmth. Good news has a way of inviting good words. Up on the 4th floor of the company building, another message went out that same afternoon. The HR partner drafted a small update to hiring guidelines and sent it for approval. It said that if a candidate was late because they had stopped to help in a real safety situation, the panel could reschedule once after verifying facts. It was a quiet change, but it spoke clearly. Values in slides should live in our decisions too. The update went live that week with a note titled, "Values in Action, Hiring." 2 weeks later, Malik walked through the glass doors again, this time as an employee. Nina at the front desk grinned like a friend and handed him a welcome folder and a badge. "Day 1, she said, almost proud. Malik felt that same lift in his chest he had felt when the offer came. He thanked her and followed the small map to the orientation room. Orientation was simple. A friendly trainer named Sam explained company history, the service promise, and the rhythm of a day at the desk. Malik learned the scheduling tool, the phone system, and the steps for logging an intake. He wrote short notes in his spiral. Repeat back the customer's words. Use plain language. Confirm time windows. At lunch, he sat with 2 other new hires and listened more than he talked. He liked hearing what they noticed. One said she loved how the hallways were bright. Another said the coffee was better than expected. Malik said he liked how many signs there were, small and clear, like the green line on the floor. On day 3, he met his mentor, Marco, the senior technician from the panel. Marco gave him a firm handshake and a calm nod. "We start small," Marco said. "I'll show you our flow. You watch one, do one, then teach one." Malik smiled at those words. It was the same pattern he used at the community center. Marco walked him through the morning checklist. Turn on the desk screens, check voicemails, print the day's appointments, and do a quick stand-up with the techs to hear about any parts delays or special notes. Malik listened and wrote in his spiral in neat lines. He liked the feeling of a shared rhythm. It felt like the start of a song he would learn to play well. By the end of week 1, he was taking simple customer intakes on his own. He kept his voice warm and steady. He made eye contact and took notes in clear words. When he reached for a term that might confuse, he paused and chose a simpler one. People seemed to relax when he spoke plainly. "We will look at this in 3 steps," he would say, holding up a finger for each one. "First, a quick listen to find the sound. Second, a look to make sure it's safe. Third, a plan for today or tomorrow." The steps landed softly because he meant them. On Friday afternoon, a small moment tested his new calm. 3 phone lines lit at once. A customer at the desk asked about a delay in parts. A tech walked up with a question about an order form. Malik felt his heart beat faster. He set a small timer to 3 minutes to remind himself to loop back to the phones, smiled at the customer waiting at the counter, and said, "I'm with you. Thank you for your patience." He asked the tech to give him 2 minutes and an order. Number, wrote both down, and answered the first call with a short greeting and a promise to return the call in 5 minutes. He then turned to the customer with the part's delay and explained what had changed and why. He did not rush through any sentence. He trusted that calm would carry him through the small storm. It did. When the phone stopped flashing, he had returned. Each call as promised, and the customer at the desk left with clear next steps. At the end of the day, Rena walked by and noticed the neat notes on his desk and the small timer. "How are you feeling so far?" she asked. "Grateful," he said. "And awake." She laughed softly. "Awake helps," she said. "You're doing well. Keep your notes. They're gold on busy days." In his second week, Malik led his first Teach One moment. A new teammate asked how to explain tire wear to a customer who came in for an oil change but needed to plan a tire visit soon. Malik drew a simple circle on a scrap paper and shaded the outer edge. "If the edge is worn, it can mean the wheel angle needs a check," he said. "We don't diagnose at the desk, but we can say this plainly. You safe, here's what we saw. Let's schedule a quick look." The teammate nodded, grateful for the script. Simple words work like steady hands. On Saturdays, Malik kept his promise to the community center. He taught the roadside basics class with the same calm. He showed on the shoulder that day. He brought his reflective vest, a jack, a compact spare, and a small pump. He let people try the tools with their own hands. He handed out a one-page guide he had made and printed at the library. "Stay safe on the shoulder. 7 steps," written in large, clear letters with small drawings. The guide was so simple that people smiled as they read it. The center director asked if he could leave extra copies at the front desk for anyone to take. Malik said yes and brought a neat stack each week. One afternoon, 3 weeks into his new job, Malik received a calendar invite from a name he recognized but had not expected. To see Coffee with Ava, 15 minutes, in a small meeting room near the lobby. The note said, "Quick thank you and check in." He felt a light surprise and a wave of gratitude all over again. At the meeting time, he knocked on the door and stepped in. Ava stood to greet him with an open, steady smile. She wore a simple jacket and the same calm he had seen in the interview room. "Thank you for making time," she said. "I wanted to say hello without a full room. How is your first month?" "It's good," Malik said. "I'm learning the rhythm. I'm grateful for the mentorship and the training credits. I like how everyone keeps the work simple." Ava nodded. "I read a note from Rena saying you handled a busy desk with care. That matters." She paused. "Also, I wanted to tell you that we updated a small guideline. If a candidate is late because they stopped to help in a real safety situation, we can reschedule once. Your choice on the roadside reminded us that our values should show up in our rules. Thank you." Malik felt the weight of those words. Not heavy, but strong. "I'm glad the company did that," he said. "It will help good people have a fair chance." Ava smiled. "One more thing. I heard you teach on weekends. If you're open to it, we'd like to print your one-page roadside guide and offer it to our customers. We would credit you and the community center." He blinked, surprised and pleased. "Yes," he said. "That would be wonderful. The guide is simple. It helps people stay calm." "Simple is our friend," she said, almost as if repeating a shared lesson. "Thank you, Malik. Keep going. We're glad you're here." After the meeting, Malik walked back through the lobby with a quiet smile. He stopped by Nina's desk and told her a shorter version. "They want to share the community guide." Nina clapped her hands softly and said, "Look at you, helping both inside and outside." He felt the warmth of belonging. The next month moved in a steady pattern. Malik used his training credits to pay for the first of his certification exams, studied at night with flashcards and short videos, and passed on his first try. Marco shook his hand and said, "Good. One step at a time." Rena added a small gold star sticker next to his name on the team board. It was a small, cheerful thing, but it made the whole team smile. Small stars remind grown people of their progress just as well as they remind children. Customers began to ask for Malik by name after a visit. It was not because he did any magic. It was because he listened and explained. He made a habit of writing a short note at the bottom of each invoice summary. Here is what we did today. Here is what we will check next.